Hello viewer, welcome to this week's episode of Weekly Review. This week we're joined by a very exciting guest, governance consultant Charles Munyui. Charles.
Yes, my brother. How are you?
Welcome to our show.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I was here a while back. Talked about a few things.
Yes.
I think they've come to be, quite a number of them. But I don't believe that's what you're reviewing again.
We want to look at the last week,
Okay.
and it was quite an intense week. I think
All right, yeah.
we saw the parliamentary process for the BBI.
True.
We saw movement on political fronts, a lot of talk of negotiation and political realignment.
True.
And of course, we saw the containment measures being enforced very strictly by the Kenya police. So it's been quite a week, hasn't it?
Very intense. Actually.
So I want us to start
Yes.
with the latter subject on the political realignment, and especially with a look at Mount Kenya.
Yes.
So a week back, we saw some legislators, who had ostensibly, met under the auspices of Mount Kenya MPs aligned to the deputy president, where they had purportedly drawn a framework for negotiation with the DP. What was your immediate thoughts about that?
That's putting the cart before the horse, you ask me. Because I think legitimacy is something we must go for every time we start a process of this nature. And you remember, these negotiations do happen.
Right.
But I think the leadership must be clear in terms of who is leading this and where is the mandate coming from.
But those are MPs, they are elected.
I totally agree.
Representatives of the
But
people.
remember, they are holding brief for their constituents. You know, it's not absolute power. Article 1 of the Constitution is very clear. They hold that authority, legislative authority,
Right.
on behalf of the people. And
Right.
the people can actually make a decision to do it themselves. You do it either directly or through your democratically elected representative. And that is not to say they're doing the wrong thing per se, but I think what we are saying, a negotiation of this nature that takes us to the next level must be properly structured. We have a de facto and de jure leader in the president today, and I think any process of this nature should seriously take into consideration his leadership, if you ask me. And I'm saying this with a lot of respect. Remember, he's the president.
Right.
The person they're negotiating with is his deputy president. That has not changed. And remember, they are here because there are some arrangements they had. There are some agreements they had, whether quasi or written agreements.
Right.
Basically, what we are saying is, if you get into this kind of a situation and you look like you're doing it within a confine of few of you that lean towards one side of the political divide, as it were, then what do you say about those other ones that have not been involved in the process? And I know they have...
To be fair to them, Charles, yeah?
Yes.
I know you as one of the most ardent supporters of the president.
Yes.
And one thing that your side of the political divide has done is demean, if what call them so, the Tanga, legislators, on the basis that they had sold themselves to the deputy president without any form of structure, without any promise for 2022 and beyond. And they're seeking to correct that. How then do you find fault with that? I mean, it's one of the accusations you've thrown at them, and they are seeking to correct that. What is wrong with that?
I have no problem with the fact that they're correcting stuff. What I'm trying to say is, in the effort to correct these things, don't you think we can get into deeper situations? Because again, we are saying a whole section of the so-called one side of the divide is left out of negotiations that affect the whole region, as it were. So if it's about negotiation, I think the first thing that must happen, and you've seen legislators, you've seen them. Privately, they're very good friends, by the way. It doesn't matter what side of the divide you're looking at. Those guys who are elected in there, and I know I'll be joining them shortly, by the way, as a member of parliament for Kiambaa, they are very good friends. They talk together, they go out together, they have a good time together. You look at them when they go out for those committee meetings, be it Mombasa, Nakuru, they are very good friends. So why can't they call each other on one corner and decide these are issues beyond now what we've been discussing?
Right.
Now we are talking about succession issues and the kind of leadership that we want in the future, so that even this negotiation can go further. We don't have to look at only one particular aspirant for the presidential seat. We should look at all the aspirants out there. Why don't they look bigger? Go meet all these groupings that are coming up and go like, we want to have a discussion. What do you have? I would like to see a team comprising whatever is called Tanga, Kieleweke, whatever middle, sitting down with them, with other individuals, the the alliances that are coming up, the Railas of this country, so that it looks serious. Otherwise, if you again come together and go to the same person that you've been sitting down with every single day, ostensibly to discuss matters Mount Kenya region, without clear structures, without involvement of other parties that you've been having issues with on matters relating to the same, how representative is that?
Are you saying that then your biggest issue with them is the structure, perhaps the lack of inclusivity within the structure or the framework of negotiations?
Let me put it in perspective. I would want to hear a meeting called of all, by whoever it is.
Yes.
We have serious elders within even those two houses of parliament. They have called our people and they have said, we as members of Mount Kenya region would like to meet and discuss a few issues, including BBI, now that we are here, including this and the other one. And in the process, this issue rises. They can even go straight, we are going to discuss these issues. Let people turn up, let others not turn up. And let it be very public. Let it even be advertised. What is the agenda of this meeting? Right. So that it can look like even them, as members of parliament, are together in as far as what they are planning is concerned. People out here are reading it as one section of the Mount Kenya region representatives. Yeah. That would be a problem. But if they can at least make an effort to bring everyone on board first and foremost, and then move forward in that direction, then all of us would be interested in what's going on.
Right. Charles, and when you're still on that subject,
yes,
and I know it's a subject that perhaps you're quite pretty conversant with, yeah?
Yes.
Talking about Mount Kenya and the unity that, the mountain has always boasted of in the past, there seems to be a disconnect this time. I mean, there are all sorts of factions. I think I saw that the speaker a few weeks ago was crowned the spokesman for Mount Kenya East a while back.
Yes.
And what intrigued me was the location of that crown, because in as far as from the past, from experience, I know that when the mountain speaks, a lot of the time, you'll have the delegates either going to Limuru or going to Sagana. That was not the case. We've also now had this group of Tanga allied MPs again start negotiations, with the deputy president, again without what would look like a solid and unifying structure for the mountain. Yeah. Do you get worried about what will happen to the mountain?
I think it was worrying in this sense. It is the first time, I think, in the history of this country that is almost clear Mount Kenya region is not going to be fielding a candidate, presidential candidate. And I think this is where all this confusion and all this confusion in as far as trying to put ducks in a row is coming from. It's becoming very difficult to have people following one particular line of thought, following this or the other person, because it's like the issue of who ascends is a serious issue. And I think without a clear leadership structure where we are sure this is a person that we have always, backed for this particular position, and so naturally, we have always known if it was not Kenyatta, if it was not Kibaki, if it was not Kenyatta, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, we have always been sure. But for the first time in the history of this country and the region in particular, it's not clear how that pans out. And I think this is what needs to be clarified. Unfortunately, that which would have been able to help our people understand how this works by way of BBI, more constituencies, more funds, so it does not really matter that much who is at the helm, understanding even the Constitution of Kenya 2010, how it took away the powers of the president, vested it in all manner of areas, including the judiciary, the legislature, the independent commissions that you've seen. That information has never sunk in our people to the extent that they still see the presidency as what it used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now, moving forward, the fact that it's coming out like we're not going to field someone, now that creates even more confusion, because that person will be a unifying factor ultimately. But what needs to happen now, and I think that's what the individuals that are meeting have seen, is that it will be about negotiating around what comes to our region, because even Western, many a time, even Kibaki time, they used to negotiate and get even a lot of cabinet positions, a lot of this and the other positions, to the extent that at one point they had more cabinet ministers than Mount Kenya region in Kibaki's government. Those days of Musikari Kombo. So bottom line, what the mountain must do, they have a de facto leader and de jure leader in the president. And I remember, I think in Sagana he said, after all these issues, we've sorted out BBI. I remember there's a lot of confusion about BBI. We shall sit down in Limuru. In fact, he said it. So there'll be some sort of a concerted effort towards discussing matters, succession,
Related
because it's
to
coming.
the mountain, yeah.
It's coming. We cannot run away from it. It's going to happen. Discussions will be around what do we do with our votes, and how especially do we make them a block of votes so that we are able to negotiate with that, because that's our strength.
Yeah.
If you have numbers in parliament, we want any particular seat in that parliament, in that executive, we will get it. Anything we want, as long as our numbers are in one basket, we'll be able to get it. Yes.
Okay, great. Let's look at the BBI a little bit. Yes. And, you know, last week we saw a lot of push and pull within both the Senate and the National Assembly. We saw the mischief around, you know, the supposed presentation of wrong bills for debate at the county assemblies. Yes. Something which later turned out to be really innocuous. It was a typo, as reiterated by, should I say, one section of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. So we are seeing so many machinations and, you know, controversies around the BBI in the parliament, in the parliamentary process. Why do you think it's becoming so drawn out? Because we thought this would be something that perhaps would be drawn out in 3 weeks. I remember I hosted you right at the onset of the BBI process, and you were very confident that the entire process within Parliament would take place within no more than 3 weeks.
Yes.
We are now in going to week 4,
yes,
and we have not seen anything that tells us that we have white smoke. What do you think happens?
I think those fighting BBI had planned everything, yeah, from the onset, from the task force that was formed. Remember, there were issues around it.
Who are these fighting BBI, Charles? Who are they?
We'll get to there. We'll get to that. But obviously, it's clear there are people who do not want this thing to pass. And I'll explain how. From the onset. And you've seen it. You've seen court matters. You've seen a lot of things happening, to the extent that even as we speak right now, there are quite a number of petitions, I think 7 of them consolidated, that are about this bill. And remember, there are 2 orders, one stopping the president from sending this into law when it passes, another one stopping IEBC from conducting a referendum. Yeah. And the reality is, the moment 24 counties passed the bill, county assemblies rather, then we were headed for a referendum. Nothing would stop that. Not Parliament, not the county assemblies, not IEBC. The only institution that can stop a referendum is a court of law. So anybody playing games knows that, and remember, the court has even pronounced itself on matters process. And that's why those promoters of BBI tried as much as possible to ensure there was public participation around BBI.
Back in 2017?
The court won't.
Are you referring to
we're talking about just the other day.
Election?
Just the other day. Just the other day,
okay,
the petitions that were heard, and where an order, I think stopping IEBC, was given, there was, the courts want that public participation must happen. We want to see the process from the onset, and nothing stops the court at the end of the process from determining the whole process is invalid. Yeah. So what we are saying is, there are people who know that the only way to stop a referendum right now is through the courts. And remember, there are petitions that are sitting in that court. And against a backdrop of the National Assembly, the Senate cannot amend the bill. The bill as was given to IEBC cannot be changed. It cannot be amended. Maybe typos can be dealt with, but we're talking about fundamental amendments cannot happen.
Principles
precisely
cannot be touched. Yeah.
So that leaves that issue to a court of law to determine these so-called differences in this bill. Is it a criminal issue where someone is sabotaging a constitutional process, or is it a real error, or is it that is about
a catalogue of coincidences.
The moment now you are the mercy of the courts, and that's the issue. Now it means, much as everything else had been done, 4 million people have signed up to BBI, then again this whole issue of national importance to a lot of people now is left at the courts for determination. And I think that is where the issue is. Now, Parliament knows, both houses, they know. The reason as to why Article 257 provides that this is a process that does not really matter how much their input is. It was there.
Right.
If the promoters of this bill wanted it to go through Parliament, they would have amended it through Article 256, a parliamentary initiative, where it did not have to go to county assemblies. So this one, they have no role whatsoever. Yeah, whether they pass it or don't pass it, and they are trying to create this after the fact, you know, determine that they have a role, they don't have a role, they can amend, they cannot amend. Those are issues that are clear. If they amend that bill would have changed fundamentally from, removed away from Article 257 on being a
popular
bill,
initiative bill. To parliamentary initiative,
so the thing is, we are going to a referendum because we have 24 county assemblies that are sent to this. And it is not clear how IBC would give an excuse that they were given 57 copies. Their work is to receive a bill and to pass copies of that bill. And the assumption is the source of the copies would be them. You know, you've received a bill. It is that bill, not 47 copies of a bill that are supported by 1 million signatures. It is a bill, not a copy, a bill that is supported by 1 million signatures. So it should be them confirming the bill is okay, it is in the right structure, and then the signatures are there, they are okay, then make copies themselves and pass the same to the county assemblies, all of them, the 47 of them. And of course, like they said, they gave a copy each to the National Assembly and the Senate for purposes of comparison. Although that again needs to be provided for clearly so that it is not a benevolence on their part. The thing is, all these things you're hearing, and I'm believing the public interest around BBI is such that, and in fact, if you read the Constitution in construing the Constitution or interpreting it, there are certain things that should not be allowed to affect your right. This is a very major right. The right to amend the Constitution is provided.
It's a fundamental right.
It's a fundamental right. So small little issues, a court would be quick to dismiss because the bigger rights, the issues around it, the issue of even gender that we are trying to resolve. Imagine kicking out all this, the whole bill because of an issue where Parliament stands dissolved today, less the challenge that the application that is there in court, stopping or challenging the Maraga advisory to the president. Yes.
So Charles, then you spoke about the enemies of BBI.
Yes.
Earlier, you alluded to BBI having what I would suppose would be very powerful enemies, because for you to be able to fight it on all those fronts, we're talking about the courts, you're talking about at the county assembly stage, you're now talking about it at National Assembly. At the bicameral house stage,
Yes.
Who is this who is so powerful that they are able to open multiple war fronts and, you know, inflict that much damage to the BBI process?
I think the biggest problem with BBI to a lot of people is that it weakens the presidency. I think it's that simple. Don't go looking for this or the other one. The biggest problem, the biggest challenge to a lot of people is that for the first time in the history of this country, the national executive, the president, will only control 65% of national
But there are those
revenue.
who are calling it a process that actually makes the president become an imperial president.
It is not true. I can look at that camera and say it's not true. How do you become imperial? The president's power is derived from the forces, military especially, and resources. So when you cannot tell a governor what to do, when you don't have conditional and conditional resources to give to a governor, when you don't have all these funds stuck up in parastatals, the governor, Kiambu for example, moves from 9 billion shillings to 21 billion or 20 billion shillings. What will you tell that governor? A governor who's been just surviving, but all out of nowhere now they have 10 billion shillings in development expenditure at their disposal. Will they come to you for 1 billion shillings for this or the other cherry fund and the other one? No, they will not. So to me, this weakens the president a lot. And remember, the president, in terms of being impeached, nothing has changed. The president now is almost sharing power with the prime minister.
And 2 DPMs as well.
And 2 DPMs. There are a lot of things that are happening around the presidency. So you cannot say they are stronger post BBI. They'll be way weaker. And don't look further than the fact that they control 65% of the resources. Uhuru Munyui Kenyatta has had a problem controlling 85%. It was not easy managing just with 85% of the resources. Counties, again, take 15%, and there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter the relationship you have with this or the other governor. Their share of the 15% will go to them.
Okay, as enshrined in the Constitution.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah.
So imagine now 35%. It doesn't matter what differences you have with this or the other governor. Their share of the same will go to them. and there is a likelihood they will not need you as a national government. And remember, you have functions as the national government, so those functions must be there. If it's the police, if it's the judiciary, if it's foreign affairs, they have to benefit that.
So, Charles, on what basis have the civil society been claiming that the presidency is attaining imperial status? I'm lost because I keep hearing them happen about the presidency becoming imperial. Where are they getting that from? I mean, what are we not seeing?
I have no idea. Luckily, I'm not holding brief for them. So I think we should invite one of them here so that they tell us how the president becomes stronger when all these things are happening around them. When all these resources are going, even the CDF now is in the constitution, it's no longer out there. When Rais now are working with responsibility, all these things, the fact that 35% is going to counties, whether you like it or not, each financial year, it doesn't matter how much you've come up with, it has to go to counties. And that is the bottom line. The fact that you have a prime minister, you have a DPM, they sit in the cabinet and they're in parliament looking good. The fact that you have a leader of opposition with a cabinet like you as a shadow cabinet, checking everything you do, left, right, and center. If a minister, your minister of finance says this, you have a minister financed by your government on the other side saying something contrary to that. So how can you be stronger that way?
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Now, let's talk containment measures and COVID.
Yes.
And I think you've probably been following news and you're seeing what's happening in India.
Yeah.
First Brazil, then of course now India. Heartbreaking stuff coming out of their mass graves. People having to bury their loved ones in, mass graves. Only one family member allowed to attend. A child only being buried by the father or the mother because only one person is allowed to attend. Some really gritty stuff.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, with the attitude that we've seen in terms of Kenyans, there has been a lot of resistance to the containment measures in the disease-infected zone. Generally, Kenyans have had a problem. Let me say, in that zone, the residents have had a problem complying with the curfew orders.
Yes.
Are we playing poker with COVID? What's your initial assessment, given what's happening around us?
French roulette is very dangerous. What you're doing is not good. Remember, we started the same way. Many of us, especially in politics, said this is not true. We are trying to get money from, I think the World Health Organization. There's a lot of funds out there for this. So Kenya is claiming it has these numbers. And remember how scared we were.
Yes, initially. At the onset, yeah.
And how confused we looked wearing masks. And it was actually strange, even wearing a mask. You could not believe that you were going to wear that thing. And then fast forward, it looked like it's okay. And after we looked like we had controlled the situation, we went back to our bad old ways. And then
second wave.
Second wave.
Towards the tail end of last year.
Now we know better. And that's the third wave has really taken us hard. It's really hit us hard. And I would not want to imagine now anything else that is worse than what was happening to us, actually happening up to now, taken a lot of our people, and I'm sure even in the rural areas, a lot of people are just, passing away without maybe those statistics getting known. I think the government must balance nicely between enforcement of what is happening and, of course, the fact that people are doing badly economically.
Economically, yes.
And how it works, and as far as I'm concerned, is make enforcement very strict. Yeah, if it's restaurants, if you open them, let there be enforcers.
Right.
If it's marketplaces, you open them up, let there be enforcers. We have a lot of council employees, and you've seen them. You've seen, even in town, you go to Nairobi, in the streets, you'll see people moving around, even those that are confirming that your car is parked properly or is paid up for. Those people should be part of enforcement. Yeah? And they have the legal instruments. They can be able to tell you, you don't have a mask, you need to wear a mask. And as long as it announced that those people will be doing it, Kenyans will comply. Because a police person will not be everywhere at the same time. So it is important that the aspect of enforcement is consistent and clear. Yeah? And information should be out there in the public domain, because that's the only way you can balance. And sure, lives are going on. much as we are controlling the spread of this particular virus. Again, international borders, we need to deal with those countries where this variant is coming from.
Yeah,
very strictly. It's not easy, because that's also a source of revenue for this country, for the things that we need, including, remember, even at one point we needed to get vaccines from there. But this is a point at which we say no. Because if we allow, again, anything more disastrous than what we're experiencing into this country, I think it is going to be bad for this economy and for the country generally.
Right. And you speak of a balance, which I think for me the government has perhaps struggled with. Because, you know, I think we've seen some of the enforcements have bordered on draconian.
Yes.
I think we also what happened on Thika Road 2 Saturdays back. And of course, you have a population that's on the edge. Because first, this disease has put everyone on the edge. It's a pandemic. It's affected everyone. It's affected even the mental health issue, something that we perhaps as Africans we don't give too much credence to. People's livelihoods have been affected. Their sources of income have been depleted or entirely lost for some. So people are generally on the edge because they are not doing well economically.
True.
There are all these restrictions which they are not used to. So the trigger point for making them angry and very vocal, be that online or offline, then the threshold is very low. And that's something that government has struggled with. And especially also they are, ensuring that even as they enforce all these containment measures, that there's a human nature to it. That, the policemen act in a manner that suggests they are fellow human beings. They are empathetic because they also have families who are affected by the same issues. So perhaps that's something the government has not done very well. And also the part of the safety nets that we first saw last year in March. We've not seen too much of that. Why do you think that we are struggling, in terms of getting these things right?
I think consistency is our problem. If you move to Muranga from here and you decide to drive there, you're sure if you're using Thika Road at Blue Post Hotel, you're going to find a roadblock there. You're sure. Even before you leave your home, you are taking a shower to go to Muranga, you have your paperwork in place.
As sure as there is night and day,
you are sure.
Roadblock, yes.
So supposing Kenyans were sure that if you move out of your house without a mask, out there, something is going to happen to you. What will happen is people will walk out of those houses with masks. It is as simple. When you surprise people with roadblocks, that were not there yesterday, and I passed through here 10 minutes past 10 in the night, and there was nothing, you'll surprise me and you'll catch me. It's like installing CCTV and not telling everyone you have CCTV. You'll catch the thug, but there's a possibility you'll have hurt you. So what needs to happen is that the fact that enforcement is clear on how it should be executed, people should know that information only, just that information and consistency in terms of ensuring those roadblocks that are going to be there are there permanently until the situation is resolved. You'll find the number of people that will be breaking the regulations will go very, very low. And other than the essentials and those ones that have no choice, because if you're sick, you have to go to hospital anyway. And those guys are normal police persons. They will understand where you're coming from. But when you do it erratically, that 1 minute the roadblock is there, the second minute pass through the same place, it's not there. So you'll catch someone. That's the way it works. So why can't we be consistent? Decide that we are going to deal with this consistently for the next 2 months. Enforcement is going to be consistent and precise. And Kenyans will even be told. Let us even tell them where the roadblocks are, so that they know.
It's not a surprise, no?
No, don't surprise them. Let them know that you are going to be caught. You cannot run away from. Let us talk about those pubs that are opening. Talk about them. Even visit them. Talk, put them on record that we know you opened up this time. And the intelligence in this country works very well. So we need people to understand and appreciate that COVID is disastrous, because until if we can be able to resolve, remember the incubation period for this virus is about 14 days. So it means if people follow the rules and regulations for 14 to 21 days, the positivity rate will go down so much to the extent that we'll be able to open the country up.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Now, Charles.
Yes.
Our viewers here a few of them might not know that you're gunning for the Kiamba parliamentary seat that was left vacant by the unfortunate demise of Paul Koinange.
That is correct.
Incidentally to COVID-19 that we are talking about.
Yeah.
And may his soul rest in peace.
In peace. Yeah, that's correct.
And Paul was an ardent supporter of the president, I know, and I know you worked with him closely at points. And you know, the battle for his succession has brought to the fore a topic that perhaps has been simmering under the surface.
Yes.
It was threatening to, you know, rear its head.
Yes.
But it kept being under the surface until the last maybe few weeks, where it's come to the national fore.
Yes.
The issue of family dynasties.
Yes.
You know, in terms of parliamentary, political succession in Kenya.
Yes.
And especially with regard to parliamentary seats. So we've seen, and of course now gubernatorial. You would say the presidency, because our current president is a scion of the founding father.
Yes.
And you know, if you look at the last few unfortunate deaths of currently serving legislators, if you go to Bonchari, for example, the ticket there, the UDA ticket, has been awarded to, I think, the wife of the late MP.
Yes.
If you go to Juja, again, the late MP, Wakape, the wife has been awarded the Jubilee ticket.
Yeah.
In Kibra,
the
brother who eventually clinched the parliamentary seat. So are we creating a precedence in this country where if a parliamentarian, a senator, a governor dies in office, then it almost becomes automatic that it is either a family member, be it the spouse, be it their children, their brother. We forgot about Garissa as well. Yeah. So is it, and because it's a bit unsettling seeing that trend emerging, you know, the last 4-5 by-elections, that seems to be the trajectory. Then what happens to the rest of us Kenyans?
Let me put it this way. And I think the best example to give is that of the president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember when he tried to be the MP for Gatondo? He was the president's son.
Yeah.
He flopped miserably. Remember he went for the national seat in 2002 against Kibaki. He flopped again. Yes. And he was very tactical in 2007. He said no. He was his own man now.
Right.
And he never at any one time went that direction of the president's son, so I'm entitled and everything. I think this is something that is coming to us belatedly. But coming to your point, to your question, there are two issues, especially in Kiambaa. One is what you're talking about. The other one, of course, is these guys who are coming back from Jubilee to Jubilee political party, having defected. And defecting is not even a bad thing, but opposing government programs from day one, the party leaders' programs, be it the handshake, be it the formula that we were pushing for revenue sharing in Senate, be it BBI, be it borrowing through IMF and the ceiling for borrowing and all those things, opposing. Then when an opportunity presents itself, they rush back. And I think against the backdrop of we are in court trying to get senators out because of the same or less, then you want to accommodate individuals who have been doing worse than the state senators. And so that is an issue for the political party to make a serious determination.
Party discipline, yeah?
That indiscipline must be stamped completely. Yeah? That indiscipline must be dealt with. You cannot be in court on one side trying to get rid of senators, then on the other side you're trying to create a member of parliament who has done worse than that particular senator.
But I think that's something that afflicts all the parties in Kenya.
That's a point.
It's a common problem.
Point has to come where we have to change. Because what are we saying? We are saying that this person is only as bad, is only bad when we are not bringing them back. Otherwise, when we are trying to kick them out because of a position they have adopted when they were in power, then we are okay. But we can cleanse them, sanitize them, and forget all those things that they have done, making it very difficult for the president. Even the same BBI we are talking about. And if anything, the issues that they have been opposing are not over. BBI has not passed. Yeah. What stops that person from becoming a member of parliament and opposing BBI from a member of parliament position. So that is an issue. Secondly, the one of inheritance. Let me first start by saying, personally, I have nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with a member of the Koinange family vying for this particular seat. In fact, pursuing the Jubilee ticket, and if they win it, they win it. What I have a concern with is expectations that are not legitimate. That simply because you are related in this way and you've been endorsed by this or the other person, that automatically, by virtue of being related to this person, you should be the one that the party, quote unquote, wants to work with. What I'm trying to say is, and let me pick on the Kibra issue and maybe even the Juja issue. Those are two different issues. Because if you look at Juja, for example, the MP there was sick for 3 years.
Right.
So when you're sick for 3 years, in a term of 5 years, it means you only served for 1 year. So someone was working with the constituency office that is under the Parliamentary Service Commission. Someone was working with the CDF office that is under Treasury.
Yeah.
And that naturally will be a member of your family,
Yeah.
most likely than not, because I don't see anybody else who will come from outside to work with this. So there is a possibility. The wife has actually
sort of
been running
yeah?
the constituency,
Yes.
as it were, albeit without necessarily coming out publicly and saying as much.
Yeah.
So that continuity for the next 1 year to complete
Makes
this
sense.
for 5 makes sense.
Makes
Keep
sense,
the same. The guy was sick for quite a while. The brother was running CDF, was running the constituency office. That time this guy was sick. So picking on him again to complete the job is okay.
Yeah.
In Kiambaa, the MP was sick for a month or less. So, and there's no evidence whatsoever that any family member has been working with the CDF or with the constituency office or has any entitlement in terms of delivery of service to Kiambaa people that was donated to Mheshimiwa Koinange. So I cannot see the connection. So let them members come in, pursue this political party's ticket, go for the seat in whatever means, but of course that illegitimate entitlement must
go for the
be
primaries
yes.
and, you know, face the voter.
Exactly.
Fantastic. I look forward to I really wish you well.
Thank you.
I hope you clinch it. Because I hope your first order of business will be to introduce a motion in Parliament that calls for the strengthening of the Political Parties Act, yeah?
Yes.
So that the indiscipline that we see within the political parties is put to a complete stop, because it's totally nauseating.
But it's true. I agree there's a lot that needs to be done, and I think our parties need to change the way they operate. Otherwise, there'll never be political parties that are strong. Personally, I think the aspect of party primaries should always be conducted by IBC. We need each party to have membership. We need each party should have its members, and those members should be the registrar of political parties. That should be a requirement, so that even if there are by-elections and there are primaries, it's not everyone who walks in and votes.
It is the members that participate.
It's the members, and the list is there. So you can actually conduct primaries for all political parties in the same hall.
Because as it were now,
you will go to be
as it were now, nothing stops me from going to
No.
participate in the Jubilee primaries. Then I go to UDA primaries. I go to ODM primaries. For example.
And there are primaries for the political parties to determine, and that's how even people mess with the candidates. They invest in the weaker candidate. The opposition will invest in the weaker candidate so that they take the ticket and then they beat them in the main election. So those are the issues that these guys know, but they don't do anything about it, because again, this ownership for political parties by individuals is a factor too.
The weekly review will be holding you accountable, yeah? Should you get to the August hours? I wish you the best.
So I
want you to face the people of Kiambaa, because I'm sure they are watching you.
Yes.
What is it? What value proposition do you have for the people of Kiambaa? Please talk to them.
Thank you very much. Kihara Ward, Nendero Ward, Moshadha Ward, Shianda Ward, Karuri Ward. Those are awards. I want to promise you, I'll make you proud, being a member of parliament. We will do everything that needs to be done to ensure those issues that have been of concern, including representation, because those roads that are not properly done is because the aspect of representation needs to be sorted out. The issue of young people, frustrations and employment is because we have not handled, say, the youth access to government procurement opportunities properly, to the extent that the wrong people benefit from the same. The issue of incubation centers, young people being guided on the kind of businesses to start, to the extent that the uptake of youth fund is very low. Sports, talent, Those are things that are not properly harnessed to the extent that young people do not benefit from those things. Those are things we are going to do together, plus a lot more to ensure Kiambaa is a proud constituency. Give me your votes. Let me be your MP. Let's do this together.
Charles.
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is.
Mine too.
Drinking from your fountain of your well of knowledge.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
And I can only wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
In the Jubilee.
Jubilee, of course.
Primaries?
Jubilee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hoping that when you get to that August house, then you'll keep picking my calls. Yeah?
It's going to be different. It's going to be different. I know I'll pick your calls. I'll pick your calls.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a conversation with Charles Munyui, a governance consultant, and now an aspiring member of parliament for Kiambaa constituency in Kiambu County. As ever, it's been an absolute pleasure having him here. Also, it's been fantastic being with you for the last 40 minutes or so. I look forward to seeing you next week, same place, same time. My name is Alex Njiiri. Cheers.